Hello, everybody. It's Friday. That means it's time for another topic of the week. So, first things first, last week's topic 40K, are you in? I was overwhelmed by the number of people who responded and responded that they're absolutely in. So, I think that's very exciting. After I recorded that video, I went to my game store to pick up, some of the 40K books. And I got a game in 40K last weekend, last Saturday, which I mentioned on the show. First game I played a 40K in 13 years. So that says something right there. And I'll have to say it was a great time. And it's going to lead me to this week's topic, but we'll come back to that. I want to keep talking about last week. There were people who said they were out, but some of it was more like, well, I'm just kind of waiting to see where it goes. Or some people had a similar concern as I did of like maybe none of the current armies really grabbed them or something like that. And that's okay. We've heard that there are more new armies coming. Exciting to think about. I bring back the Plastic Sisters. It might as well, or not bring back, but bring out the Plastic Sisters of Battle. That might as well be my Carthage must be destroyed. So there you go. But I would love to see a new race too suddenly come in. It's outer or it's space. It's real big. Things can just suddenly show up. So what happened with the Tyranids at some point? They weren't there, then they were. Same with Tau. Um, so, overall the response was amazingly positive. And when I went to my game store the day after I recorded that video, first of all, I couldn't get every book I wanted at my store because some were already sold out, which was crazy because they ordered a ton. But they had like the pre-order section stacked. Now I have a huge friendly local game store that's amazingly awesome, and it's been in business for 25 years. It's a great business, and they they had a stack of books that took up like a 4 by 2 or 3 counter that was, let's say if this is where it started, it goes off the screen, and that was all the pre-orders. It was amazing. I've never seen anything like it. I talked to the store owners about it. They said it was the biggest pre-order they'd had in memory. He also said that store has about 150 regular 40K players that kind of show up on occasion, like regular people who play in the store. And he only had one complaint out of all 150 of the edition change. Wow, that's amazing. So there you go. I think a lot of people are in. Special shout out to Skeleton Flower, who was motivated to do a response video to this, which is awesome. I was glad to see that, Skeleton. It's good to get some Skelevision support there, and that we motivated you to do a video. So that's totally great. That video for last week, of course, is linked down below, and all the response videos are linked in there in the description, just as this week's will be. So let me pivot to talk about this week's topic of the week, which comes out of my first game of 40K. So obviously we were just interested in playing. My friends came over. We had all gotten our books that day. None of us had really gotten a chance to dig into them. I read the 12-page free rule thing that's out there, which thumbs up, good for free rules. That's awesome. I like that it even comes with a little scenario to get you going. And we kind of read through some of our armies. We learned the basics. I had tried to internalize all the different. Everybody plays AOS normally, and so there was a lot of people were ready. They weren't coming into this cold because a lot of the rules are very familiar to AOS. And so I more explained the delta than started fresh. And we got into the game, or we got into sitting about to make our armies, and the question came up of, well, what are we going to do? Are we going to just use the battle points, or are we going to use the sort of discrete points, or I don't know what you want to call them, specific points? I don't know. Detailed points? Sure. In the back of the book. So for those of you who are familiar with the new 40K indices, you have sort of everything has sort of a power rating. For example, your basic unit of Space Marines are 5, right? And that 5 represents just kind of an average. They're an average of 5 power, right? And that's kind of assuming that you give them the weapon options and they are sort of averagely kitted out and stuff like that. That's the way that they've described it. Could you probably tweak some of these to push it higher or not tweak them and end up a little lower? Sure, but the idea is in the long run it all kind of balances out, right? Whereas if you go into the back of the book and you pull out the detailed points, you're paying per model. You pay for every gun and weapon you take and all those options, right? So your Knight Titan is your Knight Titan. Here, he's feet. Is 320 points base, but then whatever you give him, which gun, if he has a, if he's got the chainsaw hand versus the little Thunderstrike gauntlet or whatever. Clearly, I know all the names really well. It's been a while, people. Imperial Knights didn't exist last time I played 40k. But the idea being is then each one of those has points and you get to a total. Fine. And we immediately settled on just doing battle points because we were more interested in just playing. So we picked a small number of battle points, spun up some forces. It ended up being pretty close. Like I think I ended up at 36. The two of them ended up at 37, whatever. Something like that. We were playing a small game, multiplayer, just to get the action going. And it was great. As I said on the show, it came out. The game was unbelievably even. We used one of the scenarios that has points you gain, and it ended up like 7-6-6. I won in the last turn. Thumbs up. I played Slaanesh. Slaanesh demons are awesome. All the demons are awesome in 40k. I'm really, really pleased with the design of the demons, which is exciting because that means I can play 40k a lot without buying any army, so yay for that. But what impressed me was everything felt pretty right with the battle points. Now, we didn't go crazy. That's just it. We did probably exactly how battle points are meant to be used. We took it, we picked a couple things that we thought looked fun. In the case of demons, there really isn't much options to go with. You just kind of are. You are what you are. But the Death Guard player who was playing Space Marines just went and he took some stuff like off the list. He didn't worry about which one was the absolute best or try to tweak it for who he was playing or anything like that. He just took a couple things on all his units he thought were fun. And same with the guy playing orcs. And it worked out really well. Like, I was amazed how balanced it felt. It was and very fast, very brutal. I'll probably have more to say about this in the future, but there are little things. But overall, it led me to this week's topic. Boy, is this a rambling one. But I set up all of that to say this. For the conceivable future for me, especially when I'm just playing at home, I'm just going to use the battle points. And that got me thinking about two levels to this conversation. The first being, how do you want to use the battle points or do you prefer the discrete points? That's a very simple, pointed question, right? Like, if you're playing 40k or if you're just started or something like that, do you care about which set of those pointing mechanisms you use? I am openly on the record as not giving that much of a hoot about balance. Because I think it's all a lie and it's chasing the dragon. I think it is much like the cake. I think balance is an illusory figment. It is a mirage always on the horizon that will ever be in front of you. But that's a different topic. But you may feel differently, and that's perfectly fine. So for me, battle point's the way to go. But if you prefer the discrete points in the back, why? What do you get out of it? Do you and maybe it has nothing to do with balance. Maybe you just like the exercise of trying to like really cleverly build a list. That's very Johnny, which I am not. That's the thing I am not at all. And so, we've talked a lot about psychographic profiling, and I think those points and the detailed nature of the list building would appeal much more to Johnny types. So would you identify as that type? If you do want those points. And then on a deeper level, when it comes to those simple versus extremely detailed rules, it got me thinking about that in general. In that I prefer, I'll say, more abstraction to less. Okay? And by the way, I don't think there is a right answer here. I don't think there's one of these is good and one of these is bad. I think it really is psychographic profiling. But, that being said, do you prefer more abstracted, let's call it faster, simpler rules, or more complex, and I'm not meaning that in any negative normative way, just it is true. Adding points for every gun is a more complex thing. Bottom line, this is the definition of the words, people, okay? I'm not attaching a normative good or bad to it. It is just simply the way the word is. A more complex, detailed rule set. And if so, why? Do you think it appeals more to your personality? Do you just enjoy the exercise of it? Do you feel it makes the game more balanced? Or, is it just the way that you've, traditionally sort of played a lot of these games, because many of them are like that, and it's the way you just prefer, because it feels more right to you. Yeah, that's fine. So that's what I think that's what I want to talk about for the topic this week. Simple versus complex rules in 40K and beyond. All right? So feel free to expand this out to other things you like, because certainly this can touch a lot of other game components. But I look forward to your thoughts on this. So discuss it in the comments down below. Leave me your feedback. Do you identify as a Johnny? Which one of these do you prefer? Or that kind of thing. I'd love, 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 and I really mean this. I am excited to hear your feedback, because I really think that we oftentimes argue about this as though one of them is like sacrosanct and the truth and the light and the way, which to me seems nonsense. If a person enjoys one way, then great. And my favorite thing about New 40K is that they gave both. So everybody gets to win. And like, if I have to go to a tournament and use the detailed points, okay, I can do that once in a while. And I don't care. But for most of my games, I can just roll some simple beer and pretzels style. And that's fun too. So there you go. That's the topic. As I said, comment down below, or if you make a video response, I'll link that video right down there. Look forward to your thoughts as always. We'll see you next time.